I thought my love life was finally perfect until I learned a secret that would change everything. You know that feeling when everything seems to fall into place? I had it. I had found someone who loved me, who treated me like I was their entire world. I thought I was safe, finally living the happy ending I'd always dreamed of. But the universe had other plans. One night, out of nowhere, my partner's best friend confessed something to me that shattered my heart. My partner's best friend, the person I saw as family, told me he was in love with me. And here's the craziest part. He wasn't just anyone. He was my ex. The one I thought I had left in the past forever. I know it sounds like a twisted soap opera, but it's real. And in that moment, I realized that everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and loyalty was about to be tested in ways I never imagined. Stay with me. I'm going to tell you exactly how it happened. Every detail, every raw emotion. Because this story isn't just mine. It's a lesson for anyone who's ever believed that love is simple. My name is Emily, and for the past 2 years, I thought I'd been living a fairy tale. My partner Jake swept me off my feet with his easy smile, warm laugh, and the way he always seemed to know exactly what I needed before I even said a word. We met at a friend's wedding, and from that night on, it felt like we were meant to be together. Everything about our relationship just clicked. Jake's the kind of person who lights up a room, and I loved how he made even the most ordinary moments feel special. It wasn't long before he started introducing me to his inner circle, the friends who'd been there for him through thick and thin. That's how I met Alex. From the moment we shook hands, I could tell he was important to Jake. They had this easy banter, a friendship that felt unbreakable, and I quickly felt like part of their tight-knit bond. Alex was funny, charming in that mischievous way that always made people lean in to hear what he had to say. He'd pop up at our weekend barbecues, join us for spontaneous late-night ice cream runs, and even help me with little things around the house when Jake was busy. To anyone else, he probably seemed like just another one of Jake's buddies, but I couldn't shake this strange feeling whenever Alex was around. It was like there was this invisible thread between us, something unspoken that neither of us dared to acknowledge. Sometimes he'd look at me a little too long, or his jokes would have this edge to them, as if there was a hidden meaning just for me. At first, I thought I was imagining things. After all, Alex was Jake's best friend, practically his brother. But the more time we spent together, the more that tension grew, until it was almost electric. Little did I know, there was a reason behind every sideways glance and every lingering touch. But I didn't know that yet, and back then, I was just grateful for the life I thought I was building with the man I loved, completely unaware that everything was about to come crashing down. I guess to really understand what happened, you have to know how Alex and I began. It feels like a lifetime ago now, but there was a time when he was my everything. We met in college, both of us wide-eyed and reckless, drawn to each other like moths to a flame. He was the kind of guy who'd show up at my dorm window at midnight with a bag of takeout, the kind who made every mundane moment feel like an adventure. We'd spend hours talking about nothing and everything, sharing dreams and secrets under the stars. I loved how he made me feel alive, like I was the only girl in the world who mattered. But it wasn't always easy. Our relationship was fiery, intense, too intense sometimes. We fought as passionately as we loved, always going in circles over the same insecurities, the same fears. In the end, it was distance that tore us apart. He got a job offer in another state, and I stayed behind, trying to convince myself that love could survive on phone calls and promises alone. It didn't. Slowly, the calls became less frequent, the silences longer, until one day, it was over. There was no dramatic breakup, no final fight, just the quiet realization that we weren't meant to last. After that, I did what I thought was best. I buried the memories, packed them away with the old photos and the half-written love letters. I moved on, or at least I thought I did. I never expected to see him again, and when I met Jake, it felt like a second chance at the kind of love that didn't hurt so much. But life has a funny way of circling back, doesn't it? I had no idea that the man I thought I'd left behind would one day walk back into my life, not as a memory, but as my partner's best friend. The moment I saw him standing there, smiling like nothing had ever happened between us, my heart stopped. I tried to play it cool, to act like the past was just that, the past. But in that instant, every late-night conversation, every stolen kiss, every heartbreak came rushing back, and I knew that no matter how hard I tried to pretend otherwise, I wasn't ready for the storm that was about to hit. It still blows my mind how Alex and Jake found their way back into each other's lives. They'd been friends in high school but drifted apart when Alex moved away, so it felt like a cosmic coincidence that they'd reconnect years later. Jake and I had been dating for a few months when he excitedly told me he was meeting up with an old buddy he hadn't seen in years. I remember the moment Alex walked through our front door, his grin easy and familiar, but the second our eyes met, the air seemed to crackle with everything we'd left unsaid. Jake, oblivious to the storm brewing beneath the surface, clapped Alex on the back and introduced us like he was bringing two worlds together. My mind was racing. Part of me was stunned, part of me was terrified, but most of all, I was desperate to keep the past buried where it belonged. Alex acted like nothing had ever happened between us, like we were just meeting for the first time, and I tried to match his cool, casual energy, even though my stomach was in knots. Over the next few weeks, Alex and Jake became inseparable, almost like no time had passed at all. They'd spend hours gaming together, reminiscing about old high school memories, and all the while, I played the part of the supportive girlfriend, smiling and laughing while my ex sat across from me, close enough to touch but miles away from the person I once knew. Every little glance from Alex felt loaded, every accidental brush of his hand sent my heart racing in ways I wished it wouldn't. There was this unspoken understanding between us, a secret history that hovered in the room like a ghost, and as the three of us grew closer, laughing over shared jokes and bonding over late-night pizza runs, I couldn't shake the feeling that this fragile balance we'd built was about to tip. I knew deep down that the past doesn't just vanish because we want it to, and I was right. The more Alex and Jake rekindled their friendship, the more I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting for the ground to give way. It happened on a night that seemed so ordinary, the kind of evening you never expect to end with your world flipping upside down. Jake had been called away for a last-minute work trip, so it was just me and Alex in the apartment, finishing up a movie marathon we'd started earlier. The lights were low, the city skyline glowing blowing softly through the window, and for a moment, it felt almost too comfortable, like the universe had pressed pause and left us in this quiet bubble. I could sense something was off with Alex that night, though. He was quieter than usual, his eyes flickering with something he wouldn't say out loud. We just finished the last movie when he turned to me, his face half lit by the flickering TV screen, and said, "Emily, I need to tell you something." My heart stuttered, but I forced a smile. "What is it?" I asked, my voice light, pretending I didn't already feel the shift in the air. He took a deep breath, his fingers drumming nervously against the couch. "I can't keep this inside anymore," he said softly, his voice almost breaking. "I've never stopped loving you." Time seemed to stop right then, my breath hot in my throat, my mind reeling. "Alex, what are you saying?" I whispered, my voice shaky. He looked at me, his eyes dark and earnest, and repeated, "I've never stopped loving you, Emily, not for a single day." My stomach dropped, a dizzy swirl of panic and confusion. I wanted to run, to scream, to make him take the words back, but all I could do was stare at him. My hands were shaking, and I felt like the room was closing in on us, every breath a struggle. "You can't say that," I finally managed, my voice barely more than a whisper. "I'm with Jake. He's your best friend." Alex reached for my hand, and I flinched like his touch burned. "I know," he said, his voice cracking. "I know it's wrong, but I had to tell you. I can't keep pretending like I don't feel this." His words hung heavy in the air, thick with a history I thought I'd buried. I didn't know what to say, what to feel. I only knew that nothing would ever be the same again. In that moment, I realized that the safe little world I'd built with Jake wasn't safe at all. Everything was about to come undone, and I was powerless to stop it. After Alex's confession, my mind was a swirling chaos of emotions I couldn't begin to untangle. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, looking down at the life I'd built with Jake, and wondering if it was all about to come crashing down. My stomach twisted with guilt, my heart pounding with a mix of panic and something I didn't want to name, something that felt dangerously close to longing. How could I still feel this spark after everything that had happened? I kept replaying Alex's words in my head, the way his voice cracked when he said he'd never stopped loving me. I wanted to scream at him, to tell him he had no right to say those things now, not when I'd finally found peace. But the truth was, part of me had always wondered if the way we ended was really the end. Those old memories came flooding back with a force that left me breathless. Late-night drives with the windows down, secret jokes only we understood, the feeling of his hand in mine when I thought nothing in the world could hurt us. But I wasn't that girl anymore. I had moved on. Or at least I thought I had. In the days after his confession, every interaction with Jake felt like a lie. My chest tightened every time he smiled at me, completely unaware of the storm raging inside me. Should I tell him the truth? Should I risk losing the best thing that had ever happened to me, all because of a past I thought I'd buried? I felt like I was living in two worlds, one where I was Jake's loving partner, and another where I was still tangled up in feelings I didn't want to admit. My nights were the hardest. Lying awake in the dark, I'd replay every moment with Alex and wonder if this was fate's way of telling me I wasn't done with him yet. But then I'd think about Jake's laughter, the way he'd pull me close and kiss my forehead like I was his entire world, and the guilt would crash over me in waves. My heart was at war with my mind, and I didn't know how to make it stop. All I knew was that I had to find a way to protect what I had with Jake, even if it meant tearing myself apart in the process. Making a decision felt like trying to navigate a storm with no compass. I was completely lost, torn between the past that still haunted me and the future I desperately wanted to hold on to. At first, I thought the easiest way out was to avoid Alex altogether, to pretend like his confession had never happened, and hope the tension would just fade into the background. But every time I saw him, laughing with Jake, looking at me with that unreadable expression, I knew I couldn't just run away from it. I needed answers, clarity, something to cut through the confusion swirling in my head. So, one evening, when the apartment was quiet and Jake was out, I confronted Alex. I told him that what he said was dangerous, for all of us, and that I needed to know if he was willing to step back, or if this was going to destroy everything I'd worked so hard to build. Watching him struggle with his own feelings, I realized how much this wasn't just about me. It was about loyalty, trust, and the complicated bonds between the three of us. My heart was pounding, but beneath the fear, a small voice inside whispered what I already knew. I had to protect my relationship with Jake, no matter the cost. So, after days of sleepless nights and endless internal battles, I made my choice. I told Alex that while the past would always be a part of me, my future was with Jake, and that meant setting clear boundaries, closing the door on what once was. It wasn't easy, and it certainly wasn't clean, but it was necessary. The road ahead would be messy, uncertain, and full of challenges, but for the first time in weeks, I felt a flicker of peace, a chance to fight for the love I truly wanted to keep. Telling Jake the truth was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. My heart was pounding, my hands trembling, and every word felt like it might shatter everything we'd built together. I remember the night clearly. We were sitting in the living room, the air thick with a silence that wasn't normal between us. I took a deep breath, looked him in the eyes, and said, "Jake, there's something I need to tell you. It's about Alex and me." His face shifted instantly, curiosity turning to confusion, then something heavier, like the weight of the world had just landed on his shoulders. As I started to explain everything, Alex's confession, the feelings I'd been wrestling with, my decision to be honest, Jake's expression darkened. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" he asked, voice tight with hurt. How long have you been hiding this from me? The questions hit me like punches. I tried to reassure him, to make him understand that I wasn't trying to hurt him, that I loved him, but the betrayal was written all over his face. I never wanted to lose you, I whispered, tears spilling down my cheeks, but I couldn't keep lying to you, or to myself. For a moment, the room felt frozen. His anger, his confusion, the raw pain between us was almost suffocating. He stood up abruptly, running a hand through his hair, struggling to process everything. I need time, he said finally, voice cracking. I don't know if I can just forget this. And as he walked away, leaving me alone with the silence, I realized that telling the truth was only the beginning of a new battle, one that would test every ounce of love, trust, and forgiveness we had left. But despite the fear, I knew I had done the right thing, because if love was going to survive, it had to be built on honesty, no matter how painful. After everything came crashing down, Alex chose to step back. He apologized quietly, admitting he hadn't meant to cause so much pain, but that his feelings had gotten the better of him. He left our lives, at least physically, though the memories lingered like shadows in the corners of my mind. The hardest part was facing Jake in the days that followed. His hurt was raw, his trust shattered, and rebuilding it felt like trying to piece together broken glass. But slowly, through long conversations, tears, and honest apologies, we began to find our way back to each other. It wasn't easy. Every moment held the weight of what had happened, but it also revealed how deep our love truly ran. We learned that honesty isn't just about speaking the truth. It's about facing the consequences together, even when it feels unbearable. I realized that moving on doesn't mean forgetting the past, but accepting it as part of your story, learning from it, and choosing to keep going anyway. This experience tested everything I believed about love, loyalty, and forgiveness, but in the end, it taught me that even the darkest storms can lead to clearer skies if you're willing to fight for the light on the other side. Love isn't always simple, and honesty can be one of the hardest things to face, but I've learned that it's always the right choice, no matter how painful it feels in the moment. This journey taught me that holding on to secrets only creates cracks in the foundation of any relationship, and sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to be vulnerable and tell the truth. I want to ask you, if you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Would you keep a secret to protect the ones you love, or would you risk everything for honesty? I'm still healing from all of this, taking it one day at a time, but I know deep in my heart that choosing truth over comfort was the only way forward. Moving on doesn't mean forgetting. It means growing stronger and learning to love yourself through the messiness of it all. So, wherever you are in your own story, remember, love is complicated, but staying true to yourself is the most powerful thing you can do.